Welcome to Stargate SG1 for the first time. Still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Aiken, and I'm watching Stargate SG1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG1 for the 47th time. But for the very first time, I am looking for what Stargate is trying to teach us. Searching out those sci-fi messages. I've never looked at the show through that lens before, so I'm doing it for the first time with that particular idea in mind. You know, searching out those things where does it hold up a mirror to society, give us hope things can be better in the future, or does it just tell us how to be better people to one another?
This week, Brent, we're watching the 4th episode of the 3rd season of Stargate Legacy. Last week, I predicted that this is going to be about the legacy of the Tauri Stargate. We're going to get some of the more ancient history around it, find out pretty soon how close or far off I was. Before we get there, why don't you tell us a little bit about Legacy?
Yeah, well, today, there's very little bit today. 4th episode, season 3, Legacy. Original air date, July 16th, 1999. So, you know, these people that watched the show way back when, they've had 4 good weeks of Stargate right in a row without a break, right in the middle of the summer. Directed by one of our favorites, Jeff, Mr. Peter DeLuise.
Oh, nice.
With that, anything else I have, we're going to talk about on the backside of this show. So why don't we jump into it? If you guys are joining us for the very first time, here's how this is going to work. Jeff and I are getting ready to go watch this episode right now. What that means is if you are hanging out with us on YouTube, you're going to catch the reaction. We're going to do a reaction video to this episode of Stargate. Jeff and I watching it together real time. If you want to catch the unedited version of that, the full version, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/ByNerds. And you guys can subscribe there and check out all of that good stuff, along with all the other stuff we have going on here with By Nerds, for the first time, everything. Right. It's all right out there.
There's a lot of content on there. And if you're listening on a podcasting app, also go check out the Patreon, because there's a ton of content there that you're not seeing. And it's pretty cool and an awesome community. But you're about to gate into the future. You're going to catch us on the backside of the episode to hear my for the first time reaction, to hear about those sci-fi messages that Brent mightn't have found in the episode. So what do you say, Brent? Let's start this one. Legacy. Yeehaw! I did it.
Any ideas about this place?
It's not easy to get a shot like that with the lighting. It's really well done.
Stripped and deserted.
The map showed no life signs.
Cute.
Ancient Goa'uld design.
Right.
I wonder if it keyed into his Goa'uld
Now
to
that
let him
is not a good smell.
Jeez.
All right, level A.
That's where I sit back and go, isn't it too
There's
late?
another one here.
Yeah, you got it in your
More
mask
over
now.
there.
These aren't quite human. They're Goa'uld.
Well, Jeff, you need to watch both.
Nothing's happening. But
There's
I
definitely
felt something brush by me. Yeah, all right, let's pack it out of here.
That's
Leave
enough.
This to the medical containment unit. It's getting creepy.
About a minute.
Yeah, that's how all my work locker rooms looked like, with bathrobes and just, you know, all cozy. Uh-oh.
I always wonder. Like, that's a pretty good sized locker. Like, you know, you got 12 teams right now, 10 teams. How many they got right now?
How much space
Yeah.
is that?
You know, as far as we know, there's only one girl in the entirety.
Daniel.
Surely
It's on
there's
an
more.
Yeah, we've seen one on an SG team.
You weren't calling my name in the locker room.
So if this is a ghost
No,
story,
it's
this
okay.
will be the 3rd episode
General
this
Hammond's
season
waiting
that
for
deals with
something.
invisible enemies. Actually, no, because the Ritu were 2nd season, so.
Dr. Jackson, what about that Goa'uld tablet device?
It's a Goa'uld dialect akin to Latin. From what Teal'c and I have made out so far, it's some sort of attack plan.
That's what it sounds like. You seeing this? Nope, just you, Daniel.
Interesting idea that Latin might have come from a base dialect of Goa'uld.
Entered by infiltration.
It makes sense, though. It makes you wonder how many languages have their roots in Goa'uld, because they were here from early, you know, so early on. Think about that time in Byblos when they were literally developing written language, and those Goa'uld doing that?
Could be.
Find out in season 6.
I've often said I love. It's probably one of the things I like about Stargate so much is I love when you take real history and reinterpret it and go, oh, actually, this is what was happening. You know,
This isn't real.
but I'm gonna touch it.
I know. It's like,
Touch it. Oh. Okay, maybe that's real.
yeah, he's got nothing to grab onto with that loose door. That's a scene almost straight out of Baldur's Gate 3.
What's Jack doing? God. He's playing with an IV bag.
So what happens if I squeeze? What happens if I squeeze this?
It's one of those snake things that like keeps falling through your hands.
Those are so much fun.
Right?
Hello. Hello.
I got dragged into my closet.
No. Neither do I. Which means there has to be a logical explanation. For what?
Well, you have a Stargate. I have a Star Closet.
When we were in the Limber's chamber, I felt something brush by me. And I've heard voices. And I keep seeing the dead Goa'uld from the massacre. Where? Well, last night they were in my closet.
This is amazing. How often in sci-fi do people start seeing this stuff, but they don't tell anybody about it? And that's where the whole episode comes from.
In your closet? Yes.
Literal skeletons in your closet.
I don't think they're really dead.
Who? Stiffs in the morgue?
No, the 9 Goa'uld that were using them as hosts. I translated a phrase in a tablet that I thought meant attack, but when I refined the translation, I realized it means to enter by infiltration.
It's the inner light. This is the inner light. They want to tell their story and their legacy through
The
Daniel.
Limblers were being hunted by the system lords, right? And what if they used some sort of technology that transformed their bodies into, I don't know, energy or something?
Energy?
Or something. I don't know exactly how. Sam can figure that part out. The point is, they're here.
I think that's on her.
A lot of people get headaches. What's your
I
point?
get headaches.
Dr. Jackson is
I
experienced.
have one right now still.
Characterizes a first-break psychotic episode.
Wait a minute.
That's a big leap.
Daniel's a schizophrenic, and it's caused by the Stargate?
It's the only logical explanation we have right now, Colonel.
Well, it sounds fairly theoretical to me.
Yeah, right?
Does anybody
Sound
think it
very
could
logical.
be stress?
As much as
I was
I'd like
hoping
to
he'd say it
think that's
sounds
all is,
theoretical, not like
the
a
evidence
proof.
just doesn't
Like
point
steal
that way.
Daniel's thing so he sounds smart.
Daniel has paranoid delusions, auditory and visual hallucinations.
If his theory is proven correct, limits will be placed on the number of missions. Till then, the Stargate is closed.
General,
There is no debate, Colonel.
It's not a bad
But
idea.
Daniel, sir.
Yeah.
They don't know what they don't
Now
know.
we're going to medicate him and let him rest in one of the VIP rooms.
But if his symptoms persist or he becomes a threat to himself or anyone else, we'll have to commit him to mental health.
I like how they put that stank on mental health. Like, mental health. Oh.
Well, in this case, I think mental health is a euphemism, not actual mental health.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Check.
I wonder if Bicycle gave them any money to put their product in. Uh-oh.
check. Yeah.
Is that a Goa'uld on your arm, or are you just happy to be shuffling?
How are you feeling?
I'm fine. We're all fine here. How are you?
Good. Real good.
I like just the tail is hanging out there.
There's a Goa'uld in you. I've got to get it out.
There's no Goa'uld in me.
I don't understand how I don't know schizophrenia. I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, anything of that nature. He has one of these episodes. Why is he now passing out? Oh.
Because I think there's more going on than schizophrenia. Or what do they call it now? Dissociative identity disorder, I think. You know much
Well,
more about it.
Dissociative. I don't think it has anything to do with an identity. I don't know. I'm not, again,
I don't know.
I don't know the terms.
I know DID is a newer term. I think it's for schizophrenia, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
People are literally freaking out right now. I mean, oh my gosh.
Jack?
It's us, Daniel. Can't you see us?
They're coming.
Only your friends are here, Daniel Jackson.
They're coming.
You roll with it, man. Where are they coming from? How far away are they? What do we need to do?
Footsteps?
Daniel, there are no footsteps.
You're not helping.
Stay with us.
He hasn't been with you since the moment you walked in. I'm not gonna lie, that room looks kind of comfortable.
Why do they need AIDS?
Got
Seems
Tilk.
like Teal'c's got it. Uh-oh.
You have delivered me to the vile Goa'uld so that I may destroy it.
Machello.
You're hallucinating, Daniel.
Can you recognize the voice? Do you recognize the name
Yeah,
at all?
I remember Machello.
Get it out of him!
He's like, I know that voice. It's really familiar to me.
Now see, if I'm Sam Tilk or Jack, I hear him say that and I'm going, wait a minute.
Because it was Sam who spent a lot of time with him as Machello, right? Like,
Nothing worse than
they had a
losing
real
your mind and
relationship.
knowing it's happened.
Or was it Jack?
He was out on his own for most of the time.
I'd say he was out.
was-
Yeah, it was with Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Daniel as Machello.
Yeah.
It'd be cool, though, if they took him at least somewhat seriously and were just like, hey, let's observe. Kill him.
See, Machello is dead.
Dead.
You're not helping yourself.
Yet he told you that there was someone inside you making you appear crazy.
Point taken.
I wouldn't buy that if I were you either.
But also, Dr. Mackenzie, we travel
Just doing one thing,
intergalactically
okay?
to a lot of wild places.
Contact the SGC. Find out if Teal'c is sick. If he is,
There you go.
promise me you'll let me talk to Jack O'Neill.
I'm guessing it wasn't actually Machello.
Probably.
It was probably some sort of technological or organic recording. And it said something about delivering Machello to the vile Goa'uld, which made me start thinking. Maybe I had some sort of Goa'uld-killing invention inside of me. One of Machello's inventions.
And that's what made you nuts?
Well, since I don't have a Goa'uld, a side effect of this invention must make normal people act like they're schizophrenic.
Well, dude, you had something grab your head
Teal'c
and
is sick, right?
scramble your brain.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Well, he does have a Goa'uld.
I could see it like causing those schizophrenic pieces because it's expecting two lives and two personalities in there.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Machello's been dead for 6 months. How could he be responsible?
What if he planted those killing devices there 6 months ago?
Or a year ago.
Or a year
or
ago.
2 years ago, or 10 years
They're
ago.
just, they're
walking
so
to their meeting and,
convinced
like,
that he's wrong. They're not even
landmine.
listening.
Yes.
Like Dr.
World
Fraser.
War I mines are still going off in France today, even though the soldiers
We
that
looked. There
planted
can't
them
be
are long
anything.
since dead.
Hey, you looked at what you know.
You think that Machello made this thing, right?
Right.
We crated off everything in Machello's laboratory to Area 51, and it's all in our database. Let's see if we can find something that looks familiar.
There you go. You're gonna find the little Newton pad.
See if we can find the prototype for it.
Yeah. Can't scroll past the screen because it's one of his things.
Hey, we recognize that device.
Right there.
And that one.
Right there. Back it up.
Why did he make so many page-turning devices?
Hey, Jack. Who's nuts now?
Your
Huh?
landmine.
There you go.
There they are. I am counting 5, 10 altogether. So if all PTDs are the same, we're looking at about 10 per device.
That's how I got infected. There were 9 Linvris.
And when you activated the device, the last one went into you.
Okay, let's
I feel like an
Trying to
apology
mobilize one
might
and
be in order.
put it under the
Right?
scope. Gloves are breached.
That's not good. Quick, go to a system lord. Just jump through a gate to any system lord.
Can you step on it? Can you? Oh, right in the back of his hand.
I'd like
Fun.
to apologize in advance for anything I may say or do that could be construed as offensive as I slowly go nuts!
Likewise, Colonel.
Jack?
Sir, there's nothing
Carter?
wrong with me.
Sam, you've got 4 of those things in you.
Well, I know that, but I feel fine. I mean, somehow I must be immune.
Jolinar. Maybe that's how. It's looking for Jolinar, but there's no Goa'uld, so it's
what can I do to help?
mission accomplished.
Well,
Not much, I'm afraid.
Doctor,
You're close.
there's nothing wrong with me.
We'll get whoever else you think can help. But you're going to have to figure it out in there.
I understand, sir.
that's a good,
Whoa.
not quite compromise, but that's a good, like,
Oh, I think I spoke too soon.
What's wrong?
Oh, God, something's happening.
They did.
little fish, man.
It's like painted Swedish fish.
I think they're dead.
Come on, I mean, there's got to be a way. We got all this stuff.
I'm sorry, but you need to use high-pressure liquid chromatography to separate and isolate the protein fractions from the rest of the blood. That would yield 30 to 40 proteins. Then you'd have to test each one of them to find...
Okay, I get the point.
Centrifuge.
The most
What about
simple
the
thing we have in here. It'll do it.
Put as much blood as possible in centrifuge.
Sam doesn't even stop. She's not even sure what she's talking about. Just, all right, I get blood.
All right, do it.
Here we go.
She's like, I've been waiting to bleed. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go.
Thanks for your vote of confidence.
Right.
Appreciate it. Gonna remember it come review time.
So Sam is also a trained phlebotomist?
Doctor.
I mean,
right?
her and Teal'c, right? Like, is that part of SG1 training, like field training? Everybody knows how to set a needle and draw blood?
Probably an important thing to know.
It's too hot. They're trying to suffocate us.
Hello.
Janet.
Hey, this episode's taking a turn.
You're a Goa'uld. Stay away.
Not a Goa'uld, Janet. It's me, Sam.
Put the test tube in the centrifuge.
This is like the most basic thing that you do in a lab test, and they're making it like it's this bit like, so you have to follow this
Okay,
carefully.
so for whatever it's worth, they only put the one tube in the centrifuge.
Yeah, it's gonna.
You've got to balance it. Like, you've got to have like just another one with water in it or something.
Something, yeah.
Get back with me
It's
here.
gonna fling that
Try
stuff
and
everywhere.
separate that protein from my blood, remember? The centrifuge just finished. Now what? Quick freeze.
Major, look in the freezer over there. See if there's any dry ice.
I know a couple of physicians
Yeah, there's a
that are
ton.
like Dr. Frazier and a couple that are like Dr. Warner.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, like ones who are like, okay, here's how we're gonna do this. It's actually not hard.
But the
And
book
the others
says.
are like, no, this is the only thing that we got to do.
Looks good. Pick your first patient.
In Dr. Kelso's class, he told us to do it this way.
It was your idea.
Yeah, that's fair. You had this idea. You get stabbed first.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What did she put on her arm?
I know, right?
That's not just like an alcohol swab. That's some stuff.
Well, she's supposed to be sweaty.
I sweat so
But
much.
I don't know that
from
I've ever had my arm sweat like that.
You look terrible.
Thank you, sir. I need to give you a shot. Will you let me do that?
I love how she's still asking consent. Like, that's great.
I don't know that so much as that's consent as I'm about to shoot you here. Are you going to punch me?
Right.
I'm hearing.
You're hearing Machello?
Yeah. Ah!
So does that now mean that Jack and Janet have the protein marker?
That's
for,
what I'm
like,
wondering. Yeah.
These things really do look like little minnows. Like, let's go fishing.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to work. He'll have the marker, but he'll still have a Goa'uld larva. Depends on how smart Machello made the little beggars.
Are you feeling better, Teal'c? Indeed.
I would love that.
It's such a Machello thing, too, to like put a voice recording at the end of the whole thing.
Right. Look how they're sucking it off like that. I guess Teal'c only had the one, right? Is that how the episode ends?
I think so. Suck out a fish. Teal'c stares off into the distance. Fade to black.
That's how. Yeah, that's
Fade
it.
to black.
That's how a lot of Stargate episodes end. Like,
problem solved. No need to debrief. We're just it's
Right?
done.
right.
There's nothing wrong with that, really.
Not at all. Not at all. I do want to take a quick sec, particularly for those of you at Patreon. I don't know how much the YouTube folks are going to realize this or see this. We're well aware that was jittery for a
Yeah.
good chunk of it. We saw it was jittery at the beginning, and we said, "Hey, let's let it play for a little bit and see if and then it chilled out actually for
Quite a while.
a good chunk, and then it really that last bit it started doing it again, and at that point I think we were just too far into the video.
Well, this wasn't a high action sort of a thing.
It really wasn't. Technology
Annoying to watch. It was annoying for us to
Technology's
watch.
getting us right now. But yeah.
Annoying for you to watch. We're just calling that out.
Yeah, annoying for you too, Jeff. You watched an episode in jitter form.
I did. Well, it's almost like I watched it back in the '90s on over the air. I'd I'd stolen cable and watched it that way. So
Yeah. But sometimes I'm getting jittery. I can't use this browser anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah. Anyway, technology. All right, let's jump back into this. You ready?
got it.
All right, Jeff. Well, you have just watched Legacy for the very first time. I've watched it for the first time looking for messages and whatnot. But Jeff, you get to go first. Take us through your experience of Legacy.
This one took me on a journey. Like at first I thought this was going to be a ghost story. And I was really concerned because I'm like, this will be the third episode almost in a row that we've had some invisible thing. I'm like, really? Well, wasn't that. So then I thought it's called Legacy, right? And it's with Daniel and they're trying to say some stuff. These group, the Limvris, who are another faction of the symbiotes. I think it's interesting as a side note. We call them Goa'ulds, right? We call them, that's the name for them. But the Goa'ulds are one group of this symbiotes. There's also the Tok'ra. There's the Jaffa, who are not really, but they're just the incubators, really. And now the Limvrous. So he's like, they're symbiotes. Stop calling them Goa'ulds. That's a very specific group of symbiotes.
Well, I think the species we would call Goa'ulds.
Yeah.
But then of the species, you have, here's the Tok'ra and here's the Limvrous. They're all still the same species. They're all still the same creature. It just, their politics and how they act and how they behave are very, very different. Right. And then you have the system lords, which, probably make up 95% or 90% or whatever of all the Goa'ulds out there. I don't know if that's an accurate number or not, but
I did notice, talking about the system lords, a real change in language in this episode from past seasons. They're really, really focusing on calling them system lords. The Limvrous weren't trying to take out the Goa'uld; they were trying to take out the system lords.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So maybe that is kind of the thing where that makes sense. They're all Goa'uld, but some of them are different flavors, and now we're calling them the system lords.
Right.
But so as I'm watching, I'm thinking they're trying to tell their story. They want their legacy to live on through Daniel. I'm like, oh my gosh, is this Stargate's Inner Light episode?
Yeah.
Not that either. Nope. No, Daniel starts losing his mind, and we get a little bit of a look at how people with mental health challenges were treated in the 90s. I don't think that was an intentional move on the episode, but it was very accurate in what it did. I have to call out Michael Shanks. Incredible in this episode. So well done. He's in this padded room, and like he's flush and he's sweaty. And he's seen things that no one else has seen, and he's kind of talking to himself a little bit, and it's so believable. It's so great. Fast forward to the very end of the episode, and we have Dr. Frasier going through the same kind of cycle.
Yeah,
not good. That was
not nearly on the same level as what Michael Shanks did. If I can add to that though, Jeff.
Yeah,
Amanda Tapping in this episode when she's watching Daniel, the way like everything is emoting through her face and her eyes, and she's barely saying a word, and you really see that coming through on her part. Teal'c was just as stoic as he always is. Jack was concerned and there, but he also certainly was concerned. But I mean, Amanda just really had that going for her. But my note here, my God, Michael Shanks can act.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah,
it was really good. And another thing with Amanda Tapping, also it hit me how when we're around people that are sick or have bad things going on in their life, we tend to look upon them with pity. And I felt that's what Sam was kind of doing. She was hurting for her friend Daniel, but there's also like this thing of pity. And I know for me, this may not be for everyone, but if I were in Daniel's spot and I had enough agency to know what was going on, I'd be like, don't pity me. Like, I don't want your pity. But it also feels like the right thing to do. I'm not at all denigrating Sam for what she did. It was just made me think about how like that's our natural reaction, but it almost never actually helpful to look at it that way.
Right. But I do think, where you and I at some point realized Daniel did have his agency and he did have his faculties. No one else realized he had them at that point.
Exactly.
And the point that Amanda was in the room with him, that Sam was in the room with him, he did not actually have his faculties.
At that point, no, not at all.
So, but I hear what you're saying, Yeah.
That's an interesting point. I don't know if you'll bring it up when you talk about the messages, but it really was a real through line in this episode was people blindly believing what they believed and not being open to anything outside of that. There's a real short path in this that honestly Jack had almost did at one point, but had a really close chance to just be like, okay, Daniel, tell me what you're seeing. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what I should test. Let's try. What's the harm in trying this thing out? But instead they're like, there's nobody here, Daniel. What's wrong with you, man? Can't you see? No, just kind of interesting. But at that point, right, things change. We hear Machello's voice, which is a great callback to Holiday. And in Holiday, we found out that, he's an inventor, right? And all of his inventions were meant to kill Goa'uld. And this whole thing was one of his inventions getting picked up. So I don't know. It was an interesting episode. I think Michael Shanks's acting for me really, really takes this to the level that it's at. And I think the fact, like the writing of this episode was done in a way that really took me on a journey that I wasn't sure what it was. I felt confused, just like everyone else on the show was not sure what was going on. I thought it was really well crafted in how they put it together. My beef with the episode, is the big thing that saved the day was putting a vial of blood into a centrifuge. Like the most basic, like, hi, it's phlebotomy day 1.
Yeah.
And like, that was like this big tense moment of like, oh my God, you're going to do that. That really sucked a lot of wind out of the air for me on that one. The question I have out of this one, so they put this protein strain that you get when a Goa'uld dies inside of you. Gave it to Dr. Fraser, gave it to Jack. Are they Jolinard now? Are they going to be good? And my funny observation out of this one that I just love, and I think, again, it shows the power and the skill behind the writing and character development in Stargate. We saw Machello for 1 episode. And in that 1 episode, he was actually Daniel as Machello, which, is pretty cool if you know what's going on there. But I just thought it was so the little thing, the little SETI eel goes into their ear, and it's meant to go and kill the Goa'uld and then pop out. And it was designed, it's just this little invention designed to be like, when the Goa'uld dies, to pop out and be like, I killed you, or, oh, you delivered me to the thing. It's so Machello. Machello to like put a little voice recording at the end. That was great.
Yeah. So I do want to just call this out. So you had the Limvrus. Assume this worked the way that we saw it. The Limvrus go in, they operate this pad, they get the little things in their ears, one each. There's 10 in a pad. They got 9 of them. There's 1 left over, whatever. But each one of those 9, it would have gone in, made them incredibly sick, as we saw with Teal'c, and killed the Goa'uld. Did it kill the host, or did it leave the host alive like it did Daniel and Janet and Jack and Teal'c?
Well, I think they answered that.
It should have left them alive. Should have. Then that means that they stayed in the room and died of starvation or suffocation. Yeah. And I don't think Machello thought that one all the way through, but that is that's the harsh reality of that particular situation. Like, yikes.
Yeah, it's hard. And I think too, I have to imagine that if I was like a fully blended with my Goa'uld, and my Goa'uld died, that's got to be a traumatic and sad experience. You know? Or maybe it's very liberating, but also, traumatic in its own way.
Yeah.
You have that, plus no food, limited air, water. And again, a theme that I'm noticing in this and Babylon 5, you put people in a room, where are they going to the bathroom? Not on those pads that Daniel had in his room. Now the Limvrus, they're probably just going. It was probably gross, but
yeah. Well, no, they have Zat guns. They can just Zat it away.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Kind of perfect.
I would do.
Yeah, that's my take on the episode. All in all, pretty good. Did you get any sci-fi messages out of this one?
I feel like I should have, and I was really looking. Is this a commentary on mental health? No, it really wasn't. It really wasn't. Daniel did, Michael Shanks, I'm sorry. Michael Shanks, amazing acting. You know what it reminds me of? Jerry Ryan in that episode of Voyager where she had the multiple personality thing going on, and she was and all of a sudden you're like, oh, Jerry Ryan can freaking act. Like, this is that episode to me for Michael Shanks. I do kind of want to pick up a few threads in which you talked, in which you kind of started down that path, because I do think it is something that we see there, and we see it even, my favorite word, juxtaposed later on in the episode. They come in, Daniel's having issues, and you say it at the beginning, like, he's telling people like, hey, this thing's going on, rather than being like, okay, what happened? He says at the beginning, when we were in the room, I felt something brush past me. Should have been a clue to say, hey, let's go do this. But no, Mr. Dr. Dude walks in, guy that we haven't seen since episode 3, and is like, oh, it's got to be schizophrenia. Let's put him in a padded cell if anything else happens. And they had that in their head, and they went forward with that rather than go, did something happen? Hey, we've got this mystery. Right? How did they die? How did they die locked in a room? Wait, something's going on with Daniel. We were just in that room, felt something brush past him. There's got to be something going on. This isn't schizophrenia. This isn't, we were just having headaches from gate travel. They just went with what this doctor said. Like, and let that color everything and miss really what should have been fairly obvious.
Mm-hmm. I think it's in like medical terms or even scientific terms, it's a rule out,
Yeah.
So yes, the apparent thing, it's textbook schizophrenia, he said. So that's apparent, but let's be curious and let's rule out this kind of weird thing that happened on our mission. Let's just humor us.
Frankly, even if they had to put Daniel in the padded room, somebody needs to be going back to that room and checking out stuff on that planet, or go with the big hazmat, whatever, because we didn't know that he could go through the gloves just yet, right? But here's the thing: as soon as Daniel's in that room and he says Machello, he said it twice. As soon as he says Machello, that should include in Jack, Teal'c, Sam to go, whoa, wait a minute, something's there. I get the idea. Hey, we all saw Machello die. How is this Machello? Leftover tech is not hard to fathom,
right?
Come on, guys.
It was the whole big deal at the end of Holiday. Like, this is my stuff.
Right. So it just feels like that should have been a thing as soon as he said that. So, but then later when the one doctor's there, Janet and Sam and Jack are in the room and they're all freaking out. And the dude's other is like, yeah, we can't separate out the protein. Sorry, we can't do it. Can't do it. It takes this. You'd have to do this. You have to do that. Got to separate out the protein. And Janet, I'm going to push back against what you said, Jeff.
Okay.
The whole climax is put the thing in centrifuge. No, the whole thing wasn't put in centrifuge. It was solve the problem. Solve the problem is we can't separate out the protein. Well, you don't have to separate out the protein. Just get it to the plasma. That's the honestly, I love the genius of that, the simplicity of it.
The problem are the red blood cells. Get rid of the red blood cells. Everything else can go.
Yeah. So, hey, we're going to do it that way. I don't like the idea that they put that thing in Teal'c and that it worked for Teal'c, or that it worked for really Jack and Jack. I'm going to tell you this because I don't want you thinking about this later.
Okay.
Because I don't want it eating up mind space for you. If this was Babylon 5, I would punch myself for telling you this right now. We're never going to hear about this again for Jack and Janet.
Okay.
And Teal'c. Never will we hear about it again.
I think that makes sense also. I mean, I think about a lot of the vaccines and things that we get that impact proteins. That doesn't last forever. Like,
yeah, but they should, this show's really good at picking up old threads. It feels like they should have, I just don't think they thought this one all the way through. Is honestly what I think they needed it for this plot, and so here we go.
That's fair.
But
here's the thing,
very
though,
rarely
Brent,
are you ever going to hear about Jack ever having been infested with a Goa'uld for any amount of time whatsoever.
Like, we probably just got the last mention of that now, which,
yeah,
frankly, if it's the last time they mentioned Hathor, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, they're never going to mention him being a Jaffa again for 20 minutes. Like,
yeah,
certain things just don't come back up.
My pushback on your pushback is.
Can't push back on my pushback. I want to push back on your pushback on my pushback.
But really, like, so I get that she was under duress. There's a lot going on. But what would it have taken just to say, we just need to get rid of, like, she eventually got there after this whole argument. We're just getting rid of the red blood cells. Because as soon as she said that, dude was like, you're brilliant. Now I can help you do this thing.
Yeah.
But they had to your other point, they had to have this is my way. This is my way conflict. They weren't communicating. You can't do it. You need this equipment. I can do it. I have a centrifuge. You can't. I can. You can't. And it took her eventually. Well, I'm just going to pull out the red blood cells. Boom. Now they're working together.
Yeah. Because when she first said it, and I noted that this time, she first said, she's like, centrifuge. It's like she just couldn't say anything else other than the one word.
Mm-hmm.
And then later she's leaning over. She's in a worse state. Oh, you don't have to get rid of all the things. Just get rid of the red blood cells. Like, she spells it out for him, where, like, wait a minute, why didn't you just say that a few minutes ago?
Exactly.
If you had the ability to say that. So I'm with you on that aspect of it, but I do love the genius of Janet Fraser. Frankly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all of that to say, I think when you look at that conversation between Janet and the doctor versus the team and that other doctor, McKenzie, you really see this. Are you just going to go with what the expert says? Or are you going to go with the person in front of you? And sometimes you need to go with what the expert says. Like I'm not saying to ignore the expert, but you also have to take in other factors.
Yeah.
You know, is that a lesson? Is it a sci-fi message? No, maybe. I don't.
I think it could be if it led to anything. I think this was a thing that we're reading in it that I don't think was the point at all. And if it was the point, the message would be curious, right? But that was never a part of what
it was.
We saw.
Never where it was. This was just conflict. I think it really was just conflict. It was stupid conflict that had nothing to do with being sci-fi. It's just people are conflict. So I'm giving this one 0 chevrons, Jeff. I can try to dig it out, but I think it's a great episode in my opinion. I don't know about you. I think it's a great episode. Fantastically acted, fantastically directed. The playback is all skittery. Sorry, that's my fault. Not theirs. So, but 0 chevrons. That's the rating. That's the message portion. Jeff, you get to rank it though. How good was this episode? How much did you enjoy this episode, placing it in our definitive season 3 ranking of Stargate SG1? Currently, our season 3 ranking sits at number 1 is the episode Fair Game from last week. Then we have Into the Fire, and then we have Seth. Jeff, where do you place Legacy?
Where I'm going to place Legacy, I think, is more of a commentary on the quality of season 3 so far, because where I'm going to put it, you're going to be like, really? That's where you're putting it? Yeah. Because like everything has been good so far. This is going to be our number 4 episode. And I'm saying that really because like I was between 3 and 4 for it, but I enjoyed, like, Seth just had more going on and more continuity, I guess, more contiguous storytelling to it. But it being a number 4 by no means I did not like it. Legacy is going to stay in the top 5 for a while, at least for one more week. But I'm going to guess a couple more weeks. Like, this is a good episode.
Okay. Listen, I couldn't change it, and even if I wanted to. Personally, I would rank it, of the 3, this would be my favorite episode of the season so far. I love this episode.
Really?
But that's personal preference.
Yeah.
Personal preference. Into the Fire is good. I like Fair Game a whole lot. Seth, I kind of leave down there. It's not my favorite episode. Personal preference. But I get where you're coming from.
Maybe it was the jitters that did it for me. Maybe
could have been.
Maybe I'll go and watch it on my TV and be like, oh my gosh, actually it's amazing.
Yeah. You know, but I think that just goes to show the quality of the season.
Absolutely.
Every
single episode here I would watch again and again and again. There's not a skip. There's not a laundry episode. These are sit down and watch episodes so far.
I love it. I love that. Well, speaking of that, then it's time to get on to the next episode. And the next episode we're watching, Jeff, is I'm really curious where you're going to go. I promise you this, Jeff, we're going to have some messages next week. This episode is called Learning Curve. Jeff, would you care to take a guess of what Learning Curve? I'll give you this one little hint. This is about as sci-fi as you gonna get.
Really? Okay.
What you got?
Of course, I was going to go with like, hey, this group of former terrorists come on board and get a little out of line, and then somebody has to train them how to do things.
I'll take it a step further, Jeff. This episode could play in Star Trek in any series immediately. Script as it is, change some names, put it on a starship. This episode plays like a Star Trek episode.
Okay. So this is going to be new technology that shows up on their doorstep, and they've got to figure out how to use it. This is a potential game changer for the game changer, either to the good or can kill everybody. And they have to figure this thing out. And there's going to be within the SGC, within the government piece, there's going to be a faction on both sides. We can weaponize this thing, or this thing can really help us do good things.
Well, Jeff, as I always say, you're a good guesser.
Sure.
Well, we will find out right here next time on Stargate SG1 for the first time. Thank you guys so much for joining us and enduring the jitter. So sorry. It's technology. We'll get it figured out, and it's not going to happen next time. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your shows. Please leave us a rating or review. Share the show with somebody you know that loves Stargate SG1 or needs to get into the gate, just like my good buddy Jeff right over there. Until next time, guys, we will see you.
Hey, Brent.
You're so close. Yes, Jeff. What's up?
I told you. He's right there. He's right there.
For crying out loud.